Famous UFC fighter Kamaru Usman has been looking to specifically fight against the well-renowned fighter Khamzat. To beat Khamzat would no doubt help Kamaru Usman put himself more in the conversation for contending for the title, since he lost the title due to the fight against Leon Edwards. The UFC president Dana White is in fact very open to the fight happening. Under one condition though: if they are in the same weight class. They can fight. If not, they cannot. A catchweight fight, meaning an unrestricted weight match, is not up for discussion for White, something that Khamzat has been guilty of trying to do in the recent past. Khamzat recently missed weight by over 8 pounds for a welterweight fight against Nate Diaz last year. Usman does certainly know this and has called Khamzat out on this multiple times. For the match to happen, they both must officially meet the 185-pound weight limit. Khamzat, like Usman, hasn't had an actual fight for quite a while. Khamzat's last fight was his win in the first round of the fight against Kevin Holland at UFC 279 that happened in September of 2022. Khamzat has teased possible upcoming fights such as a fight with Paulo Costa and has complained publicly multiple times of him not being set up for a fight by the UFC. Dana White has called him out though, stating Khamzat has had personal problems that have caused the pause in him not having a scheduled fight. Khamzat has denied White's comments though. Usman has recently been recovering from his loss to Leon Edwards, when Edwards shockingly knocked Usman out in a comeback head kick in the 5th round of their fight. Usman did try to reclaim his title by fighting Edwards once again, but in the rematch, Edwards beat Usman once again, this time it being by a majority decision. Usman has beat Edwards early in their respective careers back in 2015, but the back-to-back defeats left Usman hungry to prove himself further in his fighting capabilities and skill set. Usman clearly is very open to fighting Khamzat, but has also expressed desires to fight other fighters like Stephen Thompson and even the legendary UFC fighter himself, Conor McGregor. Both Usman and Khamzat have had fascinating careers that have led them to this probable fight. Usman made his professional MMA debut in November of 2012. He fought many amateur opponents to build up his status, which eventually led him to then try out for The Ultimate Fighter in 2015. Usman would be a part of the 21st installment of the Ultimate Fighting Championship reality series. His first fight on The Ultimate Fighter was certainly not an easy one. He faced off against Michael Graves, a fighter who would go on to become the Titan FC welterweight champion. He impressively won the fight, sending him to the semifinals of the competition. For the semifinals, Usman faced off with the former WSOF welterweight champion Steve Carl. Through a nearly flawless fight, Usman beat Carl through a unanimous decision. In his biggest fight yet, Usman, now in the finals, faced Hayder Hassan, the Ultimate Fight Championship finale. In his most significant crowning achievement so far in his fighting career, Usman beat Hassan through submission in the 2nd round. Winning the Ultimate Fighter rewarded Usman a 6-figure contract with the UFC, establishing his status as a fighter to be respected and not taken lightly. Usman would then soon make his debut as an official UFC fighter, where he faced Leon Edwards at UFC on Fox 17. Usman would continue to show his dominance as he beat Edwards through a unanimous decision. Usman would then go on to win 2 straight fights, both by unanimous decision, against Alexander Yakovlev on July 23rd of 2016 and against Warley Alves on November 19th, 2016. 2017 would roll around when Usman would continue his impressive winning streak through a new crop of daring competitors. He beat middleweight champion Sean Strickland on April 8, 2017 at the UFC 2010 through a unanimous decision, a fight against Sergio Moraes through a knockout win on September 16, 2017 at UFC Fight Night 116, and would take down Venator FC welterweight champion Emil Weber-Meek by unanimous decision at UFC Fight Night 124. The winning streak would continue through 2018, with Usman beating Damian Maia and former UFC lightweight champion Rafael Dos Anjos, both through a unanimous decision win. With having a then 9-fight winning streak in his UFC career,
and of all the superlatives,
Usman would have his shot to claim the title for the UFC welterweight champion in 2019. He faced the at the time UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley on March 2nd of 2019. In a spectacular series of events, Usman won the fight through another unanimous decision and taking the legendary title of the UFC welterweight champion. Now would come his first defending of the title, which would be against a known rival of his, Colby Covington. He'd face Covington at UFC 245 on December 14th, 13th of 2019, where after a grueling and very long fight, Usman was able to beat Covington through a technical knockout. He would start off the 2020s defending his title once again, this time it being against fighter Jorge Masvidal, which Usman won once again by an impressive unanimous decision. In 2021, Usman would continue his dominance even further by beating the former UFC welterweight champion George St. Pierre. With this win, Usman had accomplished the largest win streak in his division, his streak being a whopping 13 wins at that moment. With all the overwhelming consistency in his victories, it was only a matter of time for Usman to lose eventually. The year 2022 would be the year where that winning streak would snap, and Usman would face his first major losses in his career. Usman would lose against Leon Edwards in his sixth title defense on August 20th of 2022 at the UFC 278, and also lose in the rematch, sending Usman down the trail of going after Khamzat to fight. Well regarded as one of the best freestyle wrestlers in the country of Sweden, Khamzat at 23 years old began his first training in mixed martial arts, learning very fast and efficiently in this training. Khamzat was very inspired by Conor McGregor, leading him to start competing in amateur MMA fights throughout 2017 and 2018. After winning 2 professional fights in Sweden, Khamzat would move on to fight in the Brave Combat Federation organization. Khamzat would win his first 3 fights all by knockouts against Marko Kisic, Sidney Wheeler, and Ikram Aliskerov. With all the success he quickly achieved, Khamzat signed with the UFC in 2020. His first fight as an official UFC fighter would be against John Phillips on July 16, 2020.
Only had a couple minutes to spare.
Darce, wait for it.
That's it, Mike. He's got it.
That's
The tap. Khamzat Chimaev by submission.
Khamzat would then go on a remarkable run where only 10 days after the John Phillips match, he went against Reese McKee. Khamzat won through a knockout in just the first round. Even crazier than that was in September of 2022, Khamzat would go up against Gerald Meerschaert and knock him out in just 17 seconds in the first round. Khamzat's career in the UFC would become jeopardized though when he tested positive for COVID-19 and struggled through many of the effects that COVID gave him. The effects threatened his health so significantly that he even announced he would be retiring from fighting due to his health complications with COVID-19 in March of 2021. It was later confirmed though that he would not be retiring and would return to fighting once his health was back to normal. Khamzat's next fight would be against Li Jingliang on October 13th, 2021 at UFC 267. Khamzat won the fight by choking his opponent unconscious. Khamzat's most recent fight has been against Kevin Holland at UFC 279 on the 10th of September last year. Khamzat successfully took down Holland, beating him through a choke in just the first round. Since then, he's been waiting and searching for a worthy opponent, and Usman just might be the one that is up for the challenge. Even though a fight between the two of them hasn't been officially confirmed and scheduled, the possibilities of it happening seem very probable. If it did happen, it certainly would be a legendary fight no matter the outcome.